Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the Man at YouTube with another model tank video. Today we're going to be reviewing the Trumpeter Models 172nd JGSDF Type 74 Japanese tank. Designed and made during the Cold War, wasn't widely adopted and deployed until the 80s and can be seen to this day. This box kit contains about 12 runners, a set of water slide decals, rubber tracks, and two pieces of the hull utilizing sliding mold technology, all compartmentalized quite nicely into this box with dividers and plastic bags. The instructions are printed in black and white, so all color references can only be found through the small imagery on the outer box. This proved to be a bit of an issue, as when I researched just on Google reference materials of the tank, very few images would come up, very particularly not enough of each side to get the right camo pattern or color palette. I'm sure deeper research would bring these fruits out. However, this was only a quick build for me. Much like my KV2 build experience, this is quite the solid kit. The proportion, detail, outlook looks pretty sweet. Large parts count. It's a modern subject, so there's plenty of small little parts and components cluttering up the entirety of the hull and turret. It's a very, very big tank and didn't have to come across many issues besides the tank tracks, which would not cooperate under any circumstances. Some recommending stapling, but I would have to glue all the wheels first to make sure there's enough tension and enough days to dry to hold it into place. I used the usual super glue method, but any other form of assembly fitted quite well and flush. Putty was not really required with this build. I would say definitely a medium experience. You'll also notice the difference between a First or Second World War tank to a modern or Western Cold War tank is the amount of detail and the separation of heftier parts count. This definitely has well over 100 parts, and with only a few pages or windows of the instructions, each step is cluttered with about 20 different components being stuck on one side or the other side of the isometric view of the part that's being assembled. Sometimes some of those parts not even being applied at a suitable stage where you need to get access to other areas of the model, or it may become overly delicate. The first step does cover the wheel assemblies and the suspension, which the detailing and the suitability is really nice and connects to the model and has a decent amount of strength. But then all of that is hampered through the poor handling of the tank tracks. I think if the tank tracks was made out of a completely different material and the instructions were spread out over more pages and more streamlined to not overly confront the modeler and confuse them with an overcluttered page, this would be a far more suitable model for beginners and all skill levels, rather than the rough and tumble look of veteran modelers from a time long ago. What was done super well, however not communicated well enough in the instructions and box, is the variety of choices of armaments and accessories for all sorts of scenarios, either if it was deployed or it was a concept. So I went for some of the more unusual choices, like a elongated hatch for the gunner, as well as a cap to go over the cannon, sealing it if it was in transport or storage. I felt with the effort, the detail, and what is presented in overall constructed and built model, definitely went up and beyond the call of the pay structure or the value of this kit. It's definitely one of Trumpeter's better models, but it doesn't really shine brightly, being a super obscure and almost not so well known subject matter, which makes it a shame that it's not as much discussed or showcased in the hobby. When posting the finished model, many others on social media were very quick to bring my attention to their version of building the exact same boxing or another brand or scale, which is very exciting that a few love to talk about this. Final tip to the construction bit, I used a quick drying extra thin cement, and I purchased a set of very fine cutting nippers that's similar to the God-handed brand of cutters. This was very helpful for all of those very fine and thin components that would snap otherwise if using regular nippers, and sped up the process. Going straight onto priming, I utilised Tamiya grey lacquer primer via airbrush. Coating the whole kit up, I did not come across any imperfections and was ready to go straight to painting without any further cleanup. Using the box art, I wanted to go for the winter camouflage. I took the choices of colour with Liberty, as there was no quick roundabout reference to find on Google, maybe mostly due to it being more of a concept. I matched 3 Mr. Colour lacquer colours through the artwork depicted and shaded it from a tan dirt colour down to a very light grey to showcase the white, and for the blue I used a military sky light blue and lighted it up with a blue greyish shade of colours, which gave it a nice light gradual tone that softened everything up and didn't make it look like one of those Chinese PLA aircrafts. Detail were hand picked out with a paintbrush and lacquers such as the tank tracks, edging of tools, the smoke launchers, any sort of weapons, metal components, and the machine guns. A few little extra touches that I've applied include the use of Molotov liquid chrome in all of the reflective surfaces of lights, lenses, searchlights to give it that almost mirror realistic look. Liquid smoke or clear black was shaded in underneath the tank tracks, in between the turrets, underneath and under the barrel for further shadowing effects, with all of this stowage and extra detail sticking out all over the place. The indigenous waterslide decals were utilised using the reference of the instructions. The decals were fine enough in quality and self-leveled without any aid besides water. They did take an extensive amount of time to soak, of between 1 and 5 minutes before they were free to slide across to the surface. Applied a clear gloss and deployed a couple of layers of enamel or oil-based washes, a white grey for snow weathering, and a black to pick out all the different details and make the whole thing pop with definition. A few coats of Gaia Note clear matte, and a little bit of pigment weathering and mixing snow flock with PVA glue to build up in a few corners, nooks and crannies, and focusing mostly around the tank tracks where snow would naturally build up. Unfortunately, I've done such a poor job on the tank tracks, I have to rely on snow weathering to hide where the joins were very poor, but it almost kind of brings it together and makes it look semi-natural. With the whole snow theme tying this together, I'm reasonably happy how this has come out, and another enjoyable snow build in my collection of 70-second tanks. If you have a few different glue together 70-second tanks under your belt and this excites you enough, I definitely recommend having an attempt or keeping it in your collection. If you must have this subject no matter what, do a bit of practicing first, but it is a very solid build and comes recommended. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found the video informative, useful, helpful. I've enjoyed the process. Burnt out at a few points, took a break and returned to it later. So it's almost been a year journey most of the time sitting in the box. All the usual social media links and whatnot in the description down below. And we'll catch you guys next time. Thank you for watching and see you later.